Fellowshippers, what's up, man? Welcome to the Fellowship Hall with the Twins and Ralph. I am Ralph, aka Big Ham, aka Nose, aka the smartest one in the room. And I'm here with twin number one, Keith, and twin number two, Ken. And we here to talk about One Night in Miami. Ken, say hello to the shippers.
What's up, fellowshippers? It's your boy Ken. As usual, thank you guys for tuning in with us today. Hope you enjoy the show. Go ahead, Keith.
What's up, fellowshippers? I'm Keith, the moderator. You know me. I know you. Let's go ahead and kick it off. So, as Ralph mentioned, we decided to review One Night in Miami. We've been trying to get to it and finally had time to get to it now. So, if you guys will sit with us for a little while in fellowship, we'll try to give you our thoughts, reactions, and comments. So, Big Ham, why don't you kick it off and let us know your reactions to One Night in Miami?
Man, I loved it, man. I loved it. I didn't like it to the degree that, it was getting rave reviews. I did like it to that degree because I'm not a big fan of plays as movies, right? So it's like, it kind of gets bogged down to me when you have all that dialogue and you sit in one place for a long time. But I just thought, the premise of the movie was very powerful. I'm a big Muhammad Ali fan, a big boxing fan. So I love Muhammad Ali is one of my favorite people that I just like to watch and learn about and see him in action. And so I liked that. And I knew that this was a real occurrence, all three of those guys being at the fight that night. They said that, the actual hotel room incident is official account, but them at the bar, the diner later on that night, there's a real picture of that. That was a real account as well. I know at the fight, Malcolm X is being interviewed immediately after the fight. I've seen footage of that as well. So, that whole premise I was really excited about. I thought the performances were really good. I thought the guy that played Muhammad Ali is probably the best Muhammad Ali acting that I've seen done. I thought he channeled Muhammad Ali very well. He channeled it much better than y'all boy, Will Smith did, much better. He had the voice down. He had the mannerisms down. I watched the documentary a couple of weeks ago, the What's My Name documentary, and I'm sure that he watched a lot of that documentary because the way he was saying man was exactly the way Muhammad Ali was saying it on that documentary. So I think he did an excellent job. I thought the guy that played Malcolm did an excellent job as far as channeling Malcolm with the voice, channeling Malcolm with his look, and as well as the mannerisms and the shoulders. As well as he channeled the correct energy that Malcolm had at the time, because a lot of people don't really realize this, but Malcolm at that time when he was at odds with Elijah Muhammad, you could even see in real life that you can see that stress and that weight was all over him in his spirit. And he had that same countenance, and that was a really good job done by him. I thought the performances of those two guys are really good. I thought Leslie Odom and Sam Cooke, I thought he acted well. I just thought with him and my guy that played Jim Brown, I thought with the looks and the portrayals of Malcolm and Muhammad being so well done, that they should have did a better effort at the typecasting with Jim Brown and Sam Cooke. I thought Leslie Odom didn't really have the look of Sam Cooke as well, and the voice and the way Sam talked, it wasn't really there. And my guy, I can't remember his name for some reason. He played a lot of stuff, but the guy that played Jim Brown, he's a good actor, but he doesn't necessarily look like Jim Brown. And he didn't really have the voice down as well. So I just thought that, if they were going to go that far on the Malcolm and Muhammad Ali side, they should at least try to do a little better on the Sam Cooke and Jim Brown side as well. But I thought, the actual movie, I thought it was powerful. I thought there was a dialogue there that's powerful. And those issues that even back then are still present in this day and time. We talked about activism, and we talked about, the moves and methods that should be done. And we'll address this later in a later segment, but I enjoyed it, man. It was a good watch. And outside of it being a adaptive play, I actually thought that, you know, the message and the meaning that it wanted to send forth, that they actually hit home. So I enjoyed it.
Good reaction. Good reaction,
Yep.
Big Ham. Go ahead, Ken.
Much like Rap, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie as well. I didn't have an issue with the actors portraying Sam and Jim personally. I felt that the entire cast did a excellent job, and it was, you know, they had funny moments that made you laugh, but then obviously there was a lot of serious moments in it as well.
Yeah.
Because that's how it was back then in those times. I really like how the movie started off though, where it kind of took a snapshot of each character's life and experiences that they had, you know, prior to this meeting in the hotel, and like especially with Jim after, you know, having sat and talked with this guy for this time and drank lemonade and stuff, and then the guy wouldn't let him come into his house because he was a black guy, which was, I didn't expect it. You know, obviously those were the times back then, but like the way they were sitting on the porch talking and everything, I definitely did not expect that to happen. It just goes to show, you know, even back then, no matter how famous you were and how people, you know, quote unquote, praise you, at the end of the day, they still thought they were better than you. You know, even if they had nothing and you had everything, they still thought based on their color of their skin, they were better than you. And so it was somewhat of a shock. You know, obviously, you know it was back then, but you know, just sitting in that movie, it was easy to kind of forget the times, and so that was pretty shocking. But yeah, I think it was a really, really good movie. I really enjoyed it, like I said, and obviously the whole thing with race and racism is huge, and as Big Ham alluded to, we're still experiencing aspects of it today, which is crazy so many years down the line. But nevertheless, I thought it was a great movie, and I really enjoyed how they showed the lives and how each character kind of had their own input. Regarding the actor portraying Muhammad Ali, I also thought he did a good job, but I'll be honest with you, Big Ham. The way he talked in that movie reminded me of Will talking in Ali. It sounded, to me, it almost sounded like he was copying, or not copying, but basically basing his impression off of Will's impression in Ali. And that's not a dig at him. It just, to me, goes to show that for you to think he did such a great job, I think it reinforces the fact that Will did a really good job in Ali as well, because the way he talked immediately made me think of Will. It didn't make me think of Muhammad Ali, which is crazy. It made me think of Will's portrayal of Muhammad in Ali. But I too think he did a really good job. I think all the guys did a good job. I like the guy playing Malcolm as well. And even the guy playing Sam Cooke, you know, I didn't know that Sam kind of was part of their crew, or you know, was one of their friends that they had discussions and had fun with. So it was enlightening for me as well. But I liked the movie a lot. It kept me entertained the whole way through. It had laughter, you know. When Jim said, "Have you had my grandmother's pork chops?" I almost fell out of the chair, man. And so it was just one-liners in the movies that the characters would say, that even if it was a tight, tense situation, it will kind of bring you back to the human side again, and where you were able to laugh. I thought it was a great job. I actually didn't mind that it was in the hotel room the whole time, or at least the majority of the movie. I didn't know it was based off a play though, so that kind of makes sense that they didn't have a lot of changes of scenery. But yeah, I thought it was a good movie.
Yeah, good reaction. Good reaction, both of you guys. So I won't hold the fellowshippers too long with mine, but I'll just make a few small points. I agree with what Ken said about the guy playing Muhammad Ali. I did think a lot about Will Smith immediately too. And you know, that's not to say that he copied him, he copied Will or anything, but you know, the way he was. So what?
Y'all love Will. Will, one of y'all favorite.
As the fellowships know, last week we clearly mentioned Denzel was our favorite. But anyway, I thought all four characters actually portrayed the roles that they were given. So I think Muhammad's role is so over the top that you naturally gravitate to liking that character. So you feel like this guy played great, which he did. And then Malcolm's character, now I feel like the guy that played Malcolm like channeled everything, and when I was seeing this guy, I was like, man, this guy is completely reminding me of Malcolm X down to the T.
Right.
I think the guys that, and actually I like Leslie Odom playing Sam too. I mean, you know, it's obviously it's an actor, so it's not going to be that person, but I still thought he channeled them with the voice and the talking. Now, I didn't know too much about Sam's mannerism because I just would hear him singing or maybe catch a interview on YouTube or something. I thought Leslie did a decent job. Obviously, you're not gonna have somebody that look exactly like Sam Cooke to come and act. So I thought Leslie did a good job. Now, as far as Jim Brown, the guy that plays Jim Brown, who his name is Aldous Hodge, Rab, you asked earlier, I thought he did a good job. And honestly, I feel like that he played the character that he was paid to play, meaning that Jim's character is always kind of reserved, not as far as like activism or strength, but just like, you know, he's just kind of like, he's not all over the place. You know, he's not loud. You know, he's Jim Brown. You know, he got a deep voice. You know, he walk when he want to walk and talk when he want to talk. And I thought Haas did a good job in that. I just feel like that the other characters' roles probably were more exciting, if you have to use a word, than Jim Brown's character, even though he was just as important. One thing that you guys didn't mention, and I'll go ahead and mention it, is Regina King directed this movie, and I got to be honest, when I was growing up and watching 227, I did not really care for Brenda's character. I thought she was whining. She used to get on my nerves. But as I grown and she's grown, like, I am in love with Regina King and whatever she's doing, whether she's acting as a policeman in some movie or whether she's doing the voice on the Boondocks or directing this new commercial on TV for, I can't remember, some car program. Right. I love Regina King. And I'm happy to see that, you know, she's taking on some directing stuff and getting you know, prosperity from it. So I did want to mention that. I'm happy that she was involved, and I appreciate it. And back to my reaction, I thought that you could tell that it was kind of based off a play because, like you said, it was like one scene. And just my last comment is that, you know, I was a little afraid when I was watching this movie because it was late at night and I've been working a long day. So I was like, man, I hope I don't fall asleep on this movie because, you know, it's not like an action-packed movie or something like that. It's a lot of dialogue. But I was up throughout the whole movie and didn't get sleepy at all. So I did enjoy the movie. Obviously, we'll give our ratings later on, but I enjoyed the movie and I thought it was pretty well produced.
Good job.
All right. So thank you, fellowshippers, for sitting through this with us. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into our next segment, which is basically discussing the main conflict of the movie, which in our opinion, we feel like that it was Malcolm's view versus Sam's view, or Malcolm's opinion of what Sam was doing versus Sam's true intention. So we'll flip it off a little bit different and let Ken, the moral compass, give us his take on the conflict and who did you feel maybe was actually in the right more so than in the wrong.
So I might throw you for a little bit of a loop because honestly, I don't necessarily feel either was wrong, and I don't feel that one was more right than the other. It depends on the person themselves, their personality, and what task they wanna come to. In the case of Malcolm, you know, he was pushing hard. That, you know, they had to take action, they had to stand up, they had to be outspoken. And he was pushing that Sam use his platform to speak out and about the oppression that the African Americans were going through. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And in Sam's mind, he was kind of wanting to continue to sell his records, but what he was doing was also empowering other African Americans by owning the music, having the African American artists, and when he explained about leasing their songs out or letting the Rolling Stones use their songs, and how the I forget the guy's name that quick, but the one that wrote the song, how he was upset about it for 6 months until he got his first royalty check, and how he said, you know, those boys out there don't even know they're working for us. Yeah. And I think one of the most interesting things that Sam said that was he saying, everybody out there trying to get a piece of the pie, but I want the recipe. And then when he said that, I was like, he's really thinking ahead and thinking forward. You know, a lot of times we young people and even old people, we want money, quick money and fast money. and we want it now. We don't think about the long haul where Sam were making investments and having money continue to come into his pockets as well as his artist pockets. And so I like that. So I don't, I know it sounds like I'm more favorite towards Sam, but honestly, I don't have a problem with either one of them. If Malcolm felt that, his method was the best method, then it was the best method for him. But you can't force it on someone else. You never in a point where you can tell somebody else you doing better than them or you doing more than them. You do what you can do, and they gotta live their lives and do what they can do. And in Sam's mind, he was trying to help. And even later in the movie, we saw that Sam started trying to speak out more. With change gonna come and things like that. So I don't necessarily say one was right versus the other. I think they both had their methods, and if they both were prospering, then they both were helping the cause. And that's how I felt about it.
Okay, good take, Ken. What about you, Big Ham?
I'm kind of along the same way as Ken. Within our little group, within us three, y'all know I'm more of the Malcolm type guy, right?
Yeah.
But I agree with Ken, and my thing is this. I don't want to make the Peter people get after me, but this is an old saying. A couple of old sayings that we heard from our grandfathers and great grandfathers was there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also the African proverb, many hands make light work.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what happens is when you're dealing with the struggle that we're dealing with as a Black people in America at that time and still now, you need a lot of people to play a lot of different parts. You need the role of the agitator. You need the role of the demonstrator. You need the role of the engager. You need the role of the banker. So who's giving us the money to do all these things and who's funding everything. So everybody plays a role. And so Malcolm was wanting Sam to be Malcolm.
Yep.
Yes.
Everybody can't be Malcolm.
Exactly.
Everybody can't be Martin. And so there are people who can be Malcolm, and Malcolm is that guy. And then there are people who can do both. Muhammad was that guy. Muhammad was very vocal outside of the ring about those issues. He also acted as an engager. In certain times, I remember Muhammad Ali went to Saudi Arabia and helped get some American captives back, like in the early 80s. So he did that as well. There are people who can flow seamlessly between those two. And then there are people who need to stick to what they can do. And I think what Malcolm did was very powerful. His voice was powerful to the movement and bringing up those issues and creating good confidence and Blackness, as well as what Sam did was important as well.
Yes.
Getting Black people to a better place economically, owning his own masters, owning his records. And he talked about how when Bobby Womack, when the Valentino song got covered by the Rolling Stones, and how much money it made all of them, right? And nobody knew it. Nobody knew that they was getting paid more than Rolling Stones off the plays of that song. So all that is powerful. And so there is more than, like they said, there's more than one way to get a job done. And if they combine them rather than see that they didn't have to be at odds with each other about it, that Malcolm, you can do your thing, I can do my thing, we come together and make a powerful impact all the way around. And so I felt that Malcolm was wrong in trying to make Sam come completely across his line. To say that because Sam is not making music that's speaking that message that John Denver was, that he was on the wrong side of the fence or straddling the fence is not true. You had to remember, John Denver was able to do that. Sam Cooke, as a Black man in the 60s, couldn't do that the same way that John Denver could do it. But what Sam was doing was doing it the way that he could. And I think and then the good thing and sad thing at the same time about it was that Sam's most classic song is a song that references those issues, and the change gonna come. That's like his most classic, memorable song. It wasn't his biggest hit at the time, but as we look back over Sam Cooke's career, that song is the song you think about when it comes to Sam Cooke. Another Sam Cooke song that's like my second favorite of his is Ease My Troubling Mind, which is also kind of in that same vein as Change Gonna Come as well. But you know, I don't think neither was wrong or right. I think Malcolm was more wrong in forcing Sam to try to be more like him when he didn't really have to in order to be impactful.
Right.
And Jim told him that. You know, Jim told him that, like, you know, what Sam's doing is giving power economically to black people is really powerful.
Yeah.
And so that's how I felt on this. So, you know, I think as a people, as a movement, there's still that same argument today. You know, there's people, when I think about, you know, Van Jones versus Tamika Mallory, but there's a lot of people who were upset with Van Jones for going and meeting and talking with Trump about prison reform. But it had to be done because they went and got some good legislation done.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Luther King went and talked to Lyndon B. Johnson and got legislation done. So they had to be done as well. So I thought that Malcolm's, the way that he came at Sam or accused Sam was wrong, but I think he had a point in there needs to be that person, and Sam had a point is that's what you do, let me do what I do.
Exactly.
Great discussion from both of you guys. I'll just say, if I had to choose, I would, you know, also kind of agree with you guys. I feel like Sam was fighting the only way he knew how, you know, and Malcolm probably was doing the same thing or the way he thought was the best. So for Malcolm to kind of, he almost tried to just ignore what Sam was doing because Sam wasn't doing the same thing he was doing. And I think that's sometimes a struggle or the bad attitude that we as a people, and not just black people, but all people feel like that if you're not doing it my way, you're doing it the wrong way. But if I
interrupt you, not just ignore it, it's like he was minimizing what Sam was doing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So yeah, and what I was saying was that Raph, if I know how to get to your house, but I take the freeway, and Kendrick knows how to get to your house, but he takes all surface streets. Now it may take me faster. I mean, I may be able to get there quicker than Kendrick, but if Kendrick gets to your house, then both goals, which happen to be the same goal, are still accomplished. So I really like the way these characters interacted in this movie. I would have to agree with you guys. I thought Sam was doing something that he thought was the best way, and what he was doing was actually making a difference, even if it was behind the scenes and not all in your face. And obviously Malcolm was trying to push hard, as we all know, and Malcolm probably was under a lot of stress too, so we got to take that into account. And so Malcolm is like, oh, I got to do it fast, and the only way we can do it fast is to be in your face. So this is why I feel like you should be doing it. And Malcolm is right. Maybe Malcolm was right for his own self, but that was Sam, and that was what Sam was doing. So I feel like stress probably played a factor in what Malcolm was doing, and then Malcolm only knew one way. So, you know, obviously you're gonna gravitate to the way that you feel like you know versus the way that somebody else is doing something. You know, whether it's teaching our kids math the way we grew up with, or this Common Core stuff. You know, who knows? But it's the same thing. You know, it's the same thing. We're trying to get to the same answer. Same answer. So that was a good discussion, guys. Like, you know, I have to be honest, I was a little nervous about reviewing this because I felt like that the movie was kind of, you know, serious throughout. And Ken made a point about one-liners and stuff like that, and it was funny. And then we know the times that they were in and the need for that meeting also made a difference. But, you know, I feel like that the discussion we're having right now lets you know how powerful the movie actually turned out to be, because we can discuss things, and we necessarily didn't live through it in those times, but of course we know the impacts of it, and we know what happens in life growing up as Black men or just men or whatever. And looking at the times we live in now, we know that things still need to change, as Sam put it so eloquently.
Yeah, another thing, man, a lot of fellowshippers don't know, but we're born and mostly raised in Mississippi. And all of our parents were born and raised and went through Jim Crow. You know, and so a lot of people like to think that this stuff happened so long ago, so long ago.
Far removed.
Like, I'm only 37, And my daddy went to kindergarten in a segregated school. So it's like, it's not that long ago. And so it's still relevant today. So I think I like the fact that they shine a light on this situation and the parallels of how people felt then versus how people feel now about activism. Exactly. It was really powerful. And I think that's why this movie has got such good reviews, and that's why it's hit home to a lot of people.
Yep.
Good point.
Yep. Great point.
Okay, fellowships, we're gonna go ahead and jump to the next segment, which is kind of our own opinion, but let us know what you think in the comments, and we hope you do, and we'll look forward to taking a look and maybe commenting back to you. But we wanna ask the question to the panel and the fellowship is, which character in this movie do you feel was most impactful to you? So we let Ken start the last segment. Ralph, we'll go back to you for this one.
So the character I thought was most impactful and most powerful in this movie was Malcolm, really, because Malcolm was driving and carrying the whole story. And I thought everybody added their things to it. I think Muhammad Ali, always added his comical twist to things. Then you have, Sam being the counter to Malcolm's fire, that was there. But all of those guys were brought there because of their respect for Malcolm. And then I think, Jim being the voice of reason and being that cool to put out the fire was important too. But Malcolm was most impactful because he was all about the messaging. He was, he had the agenda. He was going through it. He was, he was the one that was there under stress because he was being FBI surveilled. He his life was being threatened. His house had just been bombed, not only from, white America, but within his own organization, people wanted him dead. And within his own organization, finally killed him. So I think, he was most impactful because he could feel that time was, as we talk about, time was winding up. So he could feel that. And so the pressure was there. And so I think, he was the most impactful as far as in this movie and in the story because, it was an urgent process for him. And, we see Jim Brown is still, out of those three, Jim Brown is the only one that's still with us today. And sadly, by 65, a year and a half later, both Malcolm and Sam were both gone.
Right.
And so that's why, when you look back and on retrospect, that Malcolm was most impactful because he was saying the time is now. Mm-hmm. And I think that was the reason why I consider him the most impactful person in this movie.
Great comment.
Yep.
Ken, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go ahead and give my most impactful to me. And while I agree that the movie was clearly led by Malcolm and Malcolm's character or Malcolm's purpose, at least in his mind, for bringing them together, I really did like the Leslie Odom Sam's Cooke portrayal, and it's probably similar to what Ralph said because as we mentioned in the previous segment, it was kind of a conflict between Malcolm and Sam, and because I kind of understood, or at least I felt that I understood where Sam was coming from, then I think he was most impactful to me because he got attacked from his brother Malcolm for still trying to do the right thing or battling the way he knew how. And I think that kind of resonated with me because, again, we can all work together, but if we're all making a cake and we're all trying to use the same bowl at the same time to make something up, we're wasting time or it's just not working right. Now, obviously, this is not making a cake, but what I'm trying to say is that Malcolm could have been using the bowl to make the cake while Sam was mixing the frosting in a different bowl or something. I'm just saying, like, you don't have to do the same thing one way to make it work. You can do one thing two or however many different ways. And I felt like that Sam kind of held his own. And I like the way Odom portrayed him by holding his own. He got mad and left, and then Muhammad went and got him and brought him back, but it's just that whole interaction between all the guys was kind of powerful. So that's probably the most powerful. But as far as the character, it's easy to pick Malcolm because it seemed like it was really Malcolm in this movie because the guy played such a good role. But at the same time, I feel like that Sam defended himself and came back. And Sam's interaction with Jim was also strong, where Sam was explaining himself to him and letting them know the stuff. So I would have to pick Sam. I think all the guys did good. Muhammad could have been a pick because he was seemingly Muhammad Ali, or as me and Kendrick said, Will Smith, Muhammad Ali. I would go with Sam for my my most impactful character in this movie. So Ken, we're gonna go ahead and let you finish it up.
Yep. I agree with you guys. You guys both picked good characters. You picked the obvious characters because, like you said, they were at the forefront of the movie. But for me, the most impactful character in this movie was Jim Brown. At least the portrayal of Jim Brown. And I said it because Rail kind of alluded to it earlier. You guys both did about him being kind of calm and cool, and I guess I kind of related it somewhat to me. Whereas I'm not super outspoken. I kind of laid back. Jim was always trying to be the peacemaker, and I feel that's how I would be. But then I'm always calling myself the odd man out. And if you guys remember, when they were in the room and Jamal came in and was trying to get autographs, one of Malcolm's bodyguards, as Jim was writing his autograph, when Jamal realized that Sam was in there, he kind of snatched the book from Jim to give it to Sam. And I could see that happening to me, I'm somebody like, oh, hey, it's Kendrick. And then like, oh, there's Keith. Oh, thanks, Kendrick. and give it to Keith. So he stood out to me because he was super laid back. He didn't get too excitable, minus the interaction with the bodyguards. And he was always trying to be the peacemaker. He pulled Muhammad off Malcolm when Muhammad was mad because Malcolm was talking about leaving after he had just got cashed at the time to sign up. But also one thing that was subtle or somewhat subtle in the movie was that Jim kind of sat back and watched and kind of understood so much. And although he wasn't saying a lot, he still understood. He understood how America treated African Americans back then. And although he wasn't necessarily the most outspoken, he never backed down from anything. He was always firm and kind of stoic.
Yeah.
But also he even took it a step further when he was talking to Malcolm, where he was saying, I understand how America treats us, but we got mistreatment within our own community, the way we treat one another based on the tone of our skin. And I thought Jim's character was it probably wasn't one that they wanted to stick out the most, but I think he was kind of the staple, the solid one that kind of was trying to keep both sides calm and agreeable, because he was trying to explain to Malcolm about Sam and how Sam was doing. And so I thought Jim Brown kind of was the most impactful to me, because like you said, he wasn't at the forefront of the movie, but he was always there in the background, kind of holding things together. And also he was willing to say the tough things to the main characters that they needed to hear. And he was unapologetic. And then, even at the end, where he said, the Cleveland Browns don't want to respect my movie schedule, when they're going to fine me if I'm late, so I'm going to retire. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was just, a testament to him, where he was unapologetic. He made decisions, and I don't know how real this was, but it could be, or it could have been just fabrication or added based on the way things are. But he was quick to say, my knees, I'm playing football, but my knees are getting bad. But I'm going to this acting. I made $30-some thousand for this movie I'm in. So he was intelligent as well. He understood that football had a shelf life, but he could prolong his life by going on to acting and not have the wear and tear on his body. So I really like the character of Jim Brown, and of course the actor that plays Jim Brown. I feel like in just about every movie he's in, a third of him, he's a football player, or a series that he was in. Like he was on Friday Night Lights, and he was in the Brian Banks story where he was a football player. And of course he was playing Jim Brown. So I thought Jim was most impactful to me in this movie. They all were, but Jim stood out to me.
Good deal. You made some great points, Ken. Like you said, Jim was in the background, but he still was, doing things that he needed to do to help the characters that was in the forefront.
Right.
All right. All right, thank you guys. Fellowship, you know what time it is. It's time for us to give this movie a rating. And as we mentioned last week, or if you're new to the Fellowship Hall, welcome. And we grew up in a church, as Rav mentioned, in Mississippi. And we would have some kind of special days at church. So we would have cooking after service, or for the people after the service had ended. And if you grew up in a church, more than likely that meal was chicken. So we have fried chicken at that. So we have chicken plates for our ratings instead of stars. And we're gonna let Ken go first and give us his plate rating.
Yeah, so like I said, I think it's obvious to the fellowshippers that we all really enjoyed the movie. Again, I don't want chicken. I'm gonna do catfish, and I'm going to give this movie 4.5 fish plates. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. It wasn't the best movie I've ever seen, but I definitely enjoyed the movie. It kept me entertained. So I'm giving it 4.5 fish plates.
All right, Big Ham, what about you?
Hey man, I'm gonna give it 4 chicken plates. I'm gonna give it 4 chicken plates, and I'm gonna give it not just a regular chicken plate. I'm gonna give it the upgraded chicken plate. So instead of having fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and gravy and green beans, I'm gonna switch out the mashed potato and gravy and throw the spaghetti in there.
Spaghetti.
We're gonna have fried chicken, spaghetti, and green beans. So we're gonna upgrade the chicken plate and make sure we got enough hot sauce in there to really get it spicy. So it's 4 upgraded chicken plates with spaghetti and hot sauce. And I'm I took a whole plate away because of I'm not a big fan of the plate, the movie adaptation, but very powerful movie.
Mm-hmm.
Great performances.
Great performances.
I like the way the end show everybody's plight post the One Night in Miami. I thought everything was brought together well. I thought, as you said, Regina King, excellent job directing. I thought it was a good movie. So definitely 4 upgraded chicken plates with spaghetti is the main side.
All right, I like that. So I won't hold the issue much long. I'll also like to agree with Big Ham, and this one I'm going to give it 4 chicken plates. And it can be upgraded. I don't care, but it's still 4 chicken plates. It was a good movie. It was entertaining. It was informative. It was thought provoking. It was foreshadowing even. So I'm gonna give it 4 chicken plates also because I did enjoy the movie. I'm happy for the cast. I'm happy for the person who wrote the play, and then I'm happy for Regina King for the great directing job I felt she did. So I think that wraps it up today, fellas. Thank you for tuning in. Big Ham, you want to close us out?
Yes, fellowshippers, thank you for tuning in to our review of One Night in Miami. Please like, subscribe, and in the comments, let us know your thoughts on the movie. Let us know who you thought was right between Malcolm versus Sam. Let us know your ratings. How many chicken plates do you give it? And then just let us know your thoughts in the comments. Like, subscribe, follow us. Hey, you can catch us on YouTube, of course, at the Fellowship Hall. Our Facebook page, the Fellowship Hall. You can follow me on Facebook at Raphael Hammond and on Twitter and Instagram at Hamdog22. We thank y'all for tuning in with us today. Coming to the Fellowship Hall with the Twins and Ralph. We see y'all next time. Snowfall is coming. Be blessed, fellowshippers.
Be blessed,
fellowshippers.